love me some Solo. Solo runs his ship like a mafioso boss.
He's got the wise man running scared a little bit, don't you think? I think Will Osprey is a great athlete, but he's way too dangerous.
I am a new fan of Cody Rhodes. I call him the new John Cena.
And that's why his matches are so good. He tells stories. It's the psychology and the philosophy of the WWE.
Tables start going down. Haku has this guy just like this. What's good, everybody? Welcome into yet another episode of your new favorite wrestling storytime show we like to call Behind the Turnbuckle. I am your host, the coach. My partner, as always, Big Tommy C, over 32 years inside of the WWE. Tommy, busy week in pro wrestling for several brands. How are you, sir?
Very well, Coach. And like you said, another big week in the world of pro wrestling or sports entertainment, whatever they're calling it today. So let's get right into it.
No, apparently now all the wrestlers in WWE don't have to call it sports entertainment anymore.
Oh,
It's now pro
okay.
wrestling. That's been changed. So it's amazing when certain people leave what you don't have to do. How many times did you and I get yelled at for not calling it sports entertainment? My goodness. So many times. If you're brand new to our new little show here, and we added so many new subscribers since last week, thank you to Hurricane Helms for being the very first guest here on the show. But we want to know from you, who should we have here as a guest on the show? Because we want to have a guest every single week. Not saying it's going to happen, but that's what we attempt to do. You love the Hurricane interview. Let us know in the comments section who you would like on the show. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, do that, please. Hit that like button and then share it to the world. Speaking of the world, Tommy, that's exactly where we're going to start. Now, we all wondered after the crescendo of WrestleMania, and we knew that The Rock would be gone for 3 months. We knew that Roman Reigns would take an extended break. We don't know how long he's going to be out, but who would be the new leader of the Bloodline? And I don't love a lot, but I love me some Solo. And when he showed up on Friday night, he meant business. And when you think of Final Boss, he acted like a boss, completely different than anybody else. I loved his character. I loved how he showed up, and I loved how he moved. How about you?
I thought it was incredible. And I think he's laying the groundwork down for a new bloodline, and he wants to be the leader. Looks like he's going to be the leader, and him bringing Tonga on. And I'm sure there's going to be more guys coming aboard with him. And he's got the wise man running scared a little bit, don't you think?
I absolutely do. And here's the thing, again, for all of you new viewers, we try to tie everything back into our time in the WWE when story time or storytelling was the best. And Tommy, sometimes, and this is where I think allowing talent to come and go can really help a storyline, and not being there every week can really help a storyline. What I mean is this: now this allows Solo to run it his way, and his way is completely different than the way Roman Reigns did it. Roman Reigns was almost like a king. He always come out, acknowledge me. Solo runs his ship kind of like a mafioso boss would a little bit. Like he shows up, not mincing any words. Is this person here? Is this person? Take me to him. That type of stuff. And that character development is paramount, because then in 3 months or 4 months, whenever it is, and Roman Reigns comes back, The Rock comes back, now their egos step in the door, but Solo's saying, wait a second, I have been running this stuff while you guys were gone shooting movies and taking time off. It allows for layers, and layers is everything in pro wrestling. They could take this thing all the way to next WrestleMania.
Oh, absolutely, Coach. And it just makes him build his character more and more. And as you see in one of the scenes he had with the wise man, he said, "You don't have the authority for that." And you know, he gave the wise man a look like, "Hey, this is my territory now, guys. I don't really care what Roman says. I'm here now. I'm running the show, and he doesn't care how he runs it," as you saw in the show. So Solo is going to be a really strong character. I really like that Haku's son. He has a great look, and he looks like really vicious, and I can't wait to see what happens, really, really. And now Iceman is just like this now. Taking a step back.
Speaking of Haku is going to be a part of our story time later in the show. A story that very few people know. I just pivoted, Tommy. You don't even know about this. I just pivoted. It's what we
Right.
do. We evolve here at BTT. But an incredible story coming out of LA. Haku is one of the most dangerous individuals. And it's a little bizarre, Tommy, isn't it? To see these new WWE superstars, and they were just little kids when
Yep.
you and I were in the prime of our careers, I guess you could say. And now to
Yeah.
see them as grown ass men and
Right.
following in their family's footsteps, but looking the part and
Oh,
studying the part and understanding what it takes to make a difference and not just be another guy that walks out there. So you use the word, I think you said vicious, correct?
yeah.
You said
Yes.
vicious? It's a
Yes.
great word. It's an
Yep.
absolutely great word. And now we're expanding the bloodline. And I'm telling you right now, all these other cats, all these other superstars, Tommy, they better be sitting at home. And when they show up, they better have a storyline ready to go because the bloodline is going to keep taking more and more TV time. And you know, when you have less TV time, what happens,
That's right.
Tommy?
Out of sight, out of
Out
mind. Yep.
out of sight,
Yep.
out of mind. So that's where Roman's going to be, and that is also where The Rock is going to be. Now, speaking of out of sight, out of mind, Tommy, we talked about last week right here on the show. What would the future of Becky Lynch look like? Well, I don't think either one of us thought it would look like what we saw Monday night on Raw, as the show basically ends with her becoming the new women's champion because Rhea Ripley is out with an injury for the next 8 to 12 months. First of all, what was your reaction to the fact that they gave her the strap and they gave her the strap on Raw?
I was a little shocked about it. I actually thought Liv was going to win when it was the final three between Nia and Becky, and it didn't happen. They went back to Becky Lynch, and I was like, really? Maybe she did sign a new deal, or what? Or maybe that's a little carrot to give to her to make her sign a new deal. But I wasn't a fan of it. I wanted to see somebody else. I wouldn't even mind seeing Nia being the champ for a while. So it didn't happen. And I know the other person that I'm thinking of too is Tiffany Stratton. Man, she's making her way because you saw what she did on SmackDown, and she had a pretty good run in the battle royal that they had on Monday Night Raw, even though Nia dumped her. But going back to Becky was like a little like going back. You know, why don't we just start anew a little bit and give somebody else a chance to make that run?
Well, here's the problem with that, Tommy, is that when you're a champion and you have to show up to every house show and you've got to have, and that's what makes Cody Rhodes, and we'll get to him in a second, just so powerful for the company right now. But when you're the champion's got to wrestle. The champion's got to
Yep.
be able to carry the weight of the company with them. And I just don't think, even though Liv Morgan's been around for a minute, she still seems very new to the main event stage. Meaning, if you give her the strap on Monday Night Raw, now is she capable of having the promos she needs to have? Is she capable of figuring out how does she have a program with a Nia Jax or even with a Becky Lynch and not have them steal the show every
Right.
time that they're together on? And I just don't think she's there yet. And if I was advising her, I would tell her every minute of your free time, work on your ego, work on your confidence, work on your being able to cut a promo. Because I think her in-ring work is adequate, but I just don't know, Tommy, that she has the 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 star power that Becky does. But also to your point, did Becky sign the new deal? Because if she didn't, and it's up in about a month from what she said on the Ariel Helwani show, are they rolling the dice? Because the last thing you don't want is your champion to have the strap when they walk out the door. We've seen
That's
that years
right.
ago with Bret Hart. It's not a good look. So it
No.
tells me, Tommy, she does have a new deal done. Do you agree?
Yep. I agree with you. I think she really does. Yeah. I don't think WWE doesn't work like that, really. I mean, they're a business. They're looking straight forward ahead. They look 6 months
Mm-hmm.
ahead to a year, and they know what the deal is with Rhea Ripley is right now. So they know Becky can carry the title and be on a talk show and work her butt off because she's a good worker in the ring. She can cut a promo. It's a safe champion to have at this point in time due to the fact that Rhea Ripley's out for until late fall. So
It's a very key word you just used right there, Tommy. Safe. And safe does not equal the crowd going bananas for you when you come out. I think it's going to be a very, very difficult time for the women's division to get a lot of TV time because you look at injuries, and injuries can absolutely stunt a
yep,
wrestler's growth, their star power, and where they're at. And when you're talking about, Ronda Rousey's been a lot in the news lately because of her book. And when you talk about all the stars that are no longer available, Ronda Rousey, I know she's gone. Charlotte Flair, there was a video of her working out to try to get back from her injury this week, and she looked okay, but certainly not
right,
at her level yet. And then you got Rhea Ripley, who is a rising superstar who's not going to be out 8 to 12 months. And I don't care how
yeah,
big of a star you are, Tommy. When you're out, it's out of sight, out of freaking mind. You've
that's
got to be
right,
on TV or nobody cares. Nobody cares.
right,
But use the word caring, Tommy. So many people are caring about Cody Rhodes.
yep,
And we talked for 2 months, right when this show launched back in February. And we said, what was the storyline going to be? Could Cody Rhodes be the guy? Cody Rhodes, his journey and all this. I'll tell you what, I am a new fan of Cody Rhodes because not
yep,
only did he do good business and he stuck to the script, but now you see stories of him renting a car on his
mhm,
own dime, Tommy, in Europe. Why? Because he doesn't want to hold up the bus of superstars. I've been on probably 30 European tours, and it's 10 days, 10 shows. You get on the bus, you drive
brutal,
to the next town. You get on the bus, you
brutal,
drive to the next town. He
yep,
doesn't want to make superstars, Tommy, wait. So he rents his own car so he can stay after the show, take pictures, sign autographs back of the arena. I call him the new John Cena. I'm not
yes.
shocked. I'm just really, really proud of him, to be honest.
Yeah, he's taking the ball and run with it. And for a guy, one of the superstars, to do that, he gets respect from the boys, first of all, right? Second of
Mm-hmm.
all,
Big
upper
time.
management sees this guy that he's the real deal and he's not fooling around and he's representing the company in a big way. And he's just going to keep doing his thing, man. He's going to attend every live event. He's not going to be one of these guys that are going to just show up to TVs and not wrestle during the week. No, no, no. He's going to be a working champion, boy, and it's going to be incredible to see the reaction from everyone as Cody Rhodes moves on with his championship.
We've seen it over the years, and it's not a knock on anybody or any company or any individual, but all of those things have to happen. If you're going to be the champion, and I learned this from John Cena and Ric Flair, you've got to show up and you've got to be in the main event at every single show. That's how it was in the 80s and the 90s. And then when stars started getting so big and started demanding their schedule in the late 90s, that's when you saw business drop off because people show up and buy tickets. And then that
Right.
translates into watching on TV. And so for Cody Rhodes to do what he is doing, and I saw a video, an interview of him, and he wasn't sliding Roman Reigns. This wasn't that. But he said, you cannot get better. You cannot become the guy unless you're wrestling every day that there's a show. And
Yep.
WWE has 2 different tours, 4 days a week. And back when you and I were there, Tommy, Raw would go Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Yep.
Monday. SmackDown Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So
Tuesday.
8 shows a week. How do you get better, Tommy? And he also was talking about working in front of a crowd, understanding when the crowd comes up, when they pop, when they go down, understanding rest spots, on all those things that you can't get unless you experience them. And I think his perspective should resonate with the rest of the locker room. At least I hope it does.
Yep, you're right. And it's the what we call back in TV production, the WWE philosophy and psychology. When we would teach announcers to
Yes.
be announcers, you teach them the psychology of what's happening in the ring, telling a story. You don't have to tell anybody you got it in a headlock. We're watching it. So you tell a story. And that's what Cody does. And that's why his matches are so good. He tells stories. So when you work in live events, and by the way, back in the day, coach, that's how WWE made their money. That during the week live events. Those were big time deals. And if you're the champion, you're going to be on that live event. And that's what he's going, kind of throwing it back a little bit of working all these live events. So you feel the crowd. This work, does that work? Not where you just show up to a Monday Night Raw or a SmackDown TV taping and you get the reaction from the crowd there. He's getting it 4 days a week. and working his butt off in the ring, learning how to get better. And it's the psychology and the philosophy of the WWE that gets you better and better and makes you a great superstar. And that's what he's working on right now.
For those of you wondering how the finances work when Tommy talks about what we called house shows, and I used to describe it best because it's just for people that are in the house. And the finances work like this. They're at least they used to work like this, where you have a talent pool. So if a show makes Tommy at the gate $1 million, which is, for a big arena is obviously very, very doable,
Right.
then the talent pool would be three or 400,000 of that, whatever the percentage was, and
Right.
then they would pay you by where you were at on the card. Now it's more of a
Right.
they've tried to make storylines work, but if you're in the main event and it's $400,000 in the talent pool, it's very likely that the main event guys would get $50,000 to $75,000 per show. So when I told the story a few weeks ago about John Cena spending $70,000 on bar tabs, well,
Yeah.
he was making $50,000 to $75,000 per night times 10 is $500,000 in 10
Yeah.
days minimum.
Yep.
Minimum. And
Yep.
if you're not on those shows, Tommy, the house is down and you don't get paid for those houses.
Right.
And that's why the guys always loved those 4-day runs. Because when I started, Tommy, in 99, every house show was absolutely full, just like it is right now.
That's right.
Every arena, big,
Hot.
small, middle, doesn't matter. Oh, red hot. This
Yep.
kind of feels that way again. Not with the amount of stars, because I think they have a long way to go. But don't you agree as far as fan interest and wanting to show up to see it? And a lot of that is because of Cody Rhodes.
Because of Cody Rhodes, and it's because of the last 2 months of The Rock bringing it back to
Yep.
relevancy. Mainstream media watching The Rock, calling it pro wrestling, the final boss, him involved. You saw when he was here, Raw was sold out, SmackDown the highest ratings ever. Now it's at that peak, and Cody's going to carry it and make sure it stays up all the way. So there's no drop off. If that happens, then it gets a little crazy. But Cody's not. Cody's a workhorse, man,
He
and
is.
he
He gets
gets
it.
it.
Yes.
He gets it, man. And it's not only being at the live event, it's all about the merch too. Big
Well,
time.
you
Boys get paid for the merch, and it's big time. So it's all
at
about
one
that when you do those live events.
Yeah, at one point, when Cena was at his peak, he was 37 cents at as high as 37 cents of every dollar was a John Cena piece of merchandise. When I
Wow.
looked the other day, because I follow a few accounts on social media, and they always have like the top 10 merch sellers. And well, the Rock shirt is still selling red hot, but Cody Rhodes has a couple of things in the top 10. And when you show up at an event, and they sell it outside in the arena, it all matters. It all comes together. You've got to think like that as a businessman and as a wrestler is every dollar matters. And if you're not there, then those dollars don't show up. That's as simple as we can make it. Now, speaking of not showing up, Tom, there was some negative this week. And I want to, for a second, go to AEW because this
Okay.
kind of stuff drives me insane. And I can't wait to get your take on this. So I didn't watch the pay-per-view, whatever it was called. I still have friends over there. I don't want to disparage that company per se. This is about one particular match. Will Osprey and Bryan Danielson. And everybody raves about how great Bryan Danielson has been over the years. 5-star matches, 6-star matches. They still do that crap with who. I don't even like saying his name, but
Yeah.
I don't buy in any of that stuff. It's a show. It's a performance. And if you can dance with your dance partner, damn it, it's fun to watch. They went over 30 minutes, and everybody on social media, as I'm watching it in real time, is like, man, amazing. Both those two guys have great chemistry. Not one person talked about the finish. And
Right.
then I start to see the finish. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what in the world is going on when Ospreay, who said after the match, I'm retiring that finish. And I can't even remember what he calls it. I don't have it in front of me. But
Yeah.
where he puts Danielson up and basically drops his opponent on their neck.
On his
That's
head.
what it is.
On his head.
That's what it
Yep.
is. And
Yep.
immediately the match was over. They all come in. If it was an angle, greatest angle of all time. But I don't think it was, Tommy. Stupid, 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 stupid in 2024 to still do a move like this on a guy who was retired because of injury and was
Right.
able to come back. Your
Right.
take.
All right, my take. I think Will Osprey is a great athlete. I think he's a great worker in the ring, but he's way too dangerous. And here's my deal, coach. That whole match was 30 minutes. I don't even know what story they told because everything, as we go back, a high spot has to mean something in order for you to be engaged with it.
Mhm.
You just don't,
Mhm.
oh, I'll up you, you up me. And that's what it was. At one time they're doing the Ric Flair slaps across the chest and they're standing there and then he's flipping them in the air. But there's no storytelling. There's no ebb and flow of the match at all. Does anybody get that over there? That, I mean, Dean Malenko's there, smart guy. I guess they just let him work for themselves because every time I watch an Ospreay match, it's high spot after high spot after high spot, and the potential of somebody get when he dropped him on his head, I'm like, oh my God, is
Oh
he
my
dead?
god.
And then he came back with the elbow on his head again. I couldn't believe it, coach. And if it's an angle, it's an angle. But I don't think it was. And he apologized afterwards. I don't get his psychology in the ring because everything I've watched with him so far, great athlete, don't get me wrong, has a great look, young, good looking guy. I don't get his philosophy in the ring at all. If he did a little storytelling, ebb and flow, you get me for here, you do this, you do that. Everything is jumping up, doing triple flips and everything like that, and the crowd just loves that stuff. But you don't get why things are done. Things are done for a reason, and that's what we do. Tell stories here. He doesn't tell stories in the ring, coach.
Tony Khan, it all starts and ends with him. And he's a mark. And we all know he's a mark. And you can follow him on social media and know he's a mark. He posts pictures of when he was 4 years old, being whatever favorite wrestler, as a mark. And a mark is a fan. And when a fan is running your show, then you want to put the biggest high spots out there instead of thinking like a TV show or like a movie. And what Tommy's referring to is through body, through fight. When think of your biggest movies, think of Rocky. And Rocky's out there doing the work, right? And you felt that story, you felt what he put into it. So then when they fought, everything he put into the fight mattered. When he got knocked down, boom, we're thinking about going through the snow. When he's trying to get back up, trying to beat the count, boom, we're thinking about having that thing on his shoulders. It all matters. And when you are on the biggest stage, Tommy, and you're making all that money, and I don't know all the backstage politics, but I do know from everything I've read that Bryan Danielson is on some advisory board. I've never even heard of that in the WWE. Certainly not when we were there. Did you have a wrestler? And the closest thing was when Triple H started coming to the meetings before he was an executive. That's the closest I've ever seen it. But
Right.
Tommy, for them to allow that and for Will to even still do that move or even start that move ever in his career, it's dangerous. It is. I keep going back to the word stupid, and I know they want the impact, Tommy. But if you tell a good enough story, that's the impact.
Right.
That's the impact. It's
Right.
not the impact of breaking somebody's neck. And
Right.
we've seen that happen before
Right.
more than once.
Yes.
More than once.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
I do. You don't think it was an angle, do you? Because I haven't really seen anything since then as far as injuries. And we're taping this on Tuesday. That happened just a couple of days ago. You don't think that was an angle,
I
do
don't
you?
think it was an angle, coach. And by the way, Bryan Danielson had many tremendous matches here in the WWE where it told a story. And I just think they forgot about it. And I just don't get it, man. I don't get I I don't get his philosophy in the ring at all. And somebody's gonna end up getting really hurt really bad by this guy right here. I hate to say that because I think he's probably a really good guy, but I don't get his philosophy at all. I don't get it. I don't know.
You know
Maybe
what it
that's
is, Tommy?
in Japan, but I don't get it here, Coach. And that would
You know
never
what it
fly in the WWE. I swear to God, it wouldn't.
do you know what it is? Here's what it is because you and I got raked over the coals by the AEW mob, as I like to call them, when we went off. What was it, a month ago, 2 months ago? When what's his name went through the glass? Can't even remember his
Oh
name right
yeah,
now.
Darby Lynn.
What? Yeah,
Darby
went through
Lynn.
the glass for absolutely no reason,
Yeah,
and all that glass sprayed into the crowd. Oh,
yeah,
you're an idiot. Yeah. They're trying to, and it again it starts at the top. They're trying to compete with the beast that is the WWE. And
right.
when they've had the 2 or 3 months that they've had, Now, when you're over there, in those meetings, Tommy, they're saying, man, we need eyeballs. We got to have people watching. We got all these house shows where 1,000 people are showing up. So we're going to get a full house for this pay-per-view. We need to take it to another level.
Right.
And in their minds, the next level or the other level is, let's see how dangerous we can make it. And that's absolutely the wrong mindset. It just is. It just is. So hopefully Bryan Danielson is okay. Hopefully he'll be able to continue. But that's also the other layer of this, is that he was out for years in the WWE with a back injury, neck injury, and all that. And we've worked, Tommy, with what? Yeah, legitimate. Stone Cold. Yeah. I mean, the list goes on and on of guys, Kurt Angle, that had the really serious neck surgery, and they never had the mobility again, and they never had the athleticism again that they had before because they just don't have the movement anymore. And Bryan Danielson should know better. He should just know better than to agree to do that move. Now, speaking of injuries, Tommy, Seth Rollins. We should give him everybody's giving him all the praise in the world because it came out that he had surgery in the past week, and he's going to be out anywhere from 3 to 8 months, meniscus. And the reason for the disparity in time is because the meniscus is not as serious as an ACL. So how your body responds to it depends on how long you are out. Right. But he apparently worked through this and had this the entire time leading up to WrestleMania, but yet still was out there. And we thought, Tommy, because we talked about it, that he had recovered from the injury we thought he had.
Right.
He hadn't. Nope. So now, how big of a blow is it to his career, but also being with Becky? They have a child together. Do you think because of the Seth news, they allowed to do that for Becky? I tied the two together.
It's huge, Coach. I think Seth is one of the top superstars the WWE has. And again, when you're out 3 to 8 months, out of sight, out of mind, I think maybe that's one of the reasons why Becky has got the title, to keep them relevant in keeping up and going here in the WWE. So Seth knows the deal, man. When you're out, man, you're out. You know, it's nobody thinks of you. And as you know, he knew he was having surgery. There was one shot where you saw at the end of WrestleMania, Seth was sitting there and he was actually crying. And that's when Kevin Owens came over and Jey Uso came over and picked him up, because he knew after that he was going to have surgery and he was going to be out for a while. But he laid it all on the line for Cody Rhodes and for the company. So I really feel bad for him because I like Seth a lot. I think he's a really good worker. He does some really crazy stuff with his outfits, but that's his persona and we get all that. But he knows not being around is not a good thing, because somebody else is going to come up and grab the ring and want to run with it, Coach. So
it is.
He's got a little bit of a run because he's a little older now. So he's got a little bit of a run to get back to where he wants to be.
It's a passion for the business. It is the love of the addiction to going out in front of the crowd, and over a decade of blood, sweat, tears, and getting that reaction back to you, and understanding that whatever business we are in, Tommy, and we've been lucky to be in this one and me in sports, is very few times do you get that magic moment. Right. Very few times do you get that where you get to look around and be in the moment. He's at that level where the red light doesn't mean anything to him. It's about the performance. So that reaction that you're talking about is because he got to look around and realize, I'm part of something special. I am part of something that cannot be replicated. I'm in the ring with two of the absolute greatest, and three if you want to count Cody Rhodes, who still has a long way to go, in my opinion, to be where Rock and Roman Reigns are. Right. But then you couple that emotion with the emotion of, I got to sit my ass at home. And he doesn't care if he's still getting paid or not, because he is. But not being the road also becomes an addiction. And that's part of the reason I had to get out. Is I was on the road so much every week. You start to, when you're not there, you're like, oh, wait a second, I'm having nightmares that I miss the city. And he's been there so long and done house shows every single year, all the time. This is all he knows.
Yep.
And so I think there was a lot of emotion that came through to that. People need to understand what these guys and women go through to get to that level, because very few, Tommy, understand what it takes, and Seth Rollins does.
Yep.
He does.
He was the main
So
event
Becky
of the greatest WrestleMania of all time, Coach.
can't take it
So
away.
can't take
Can't
that
take it away.
away. And he laid it all on the line, man. He laid it out there, being hurt and not even selling the hurt. Like we thought he was
I
okay,
didn't know.
right?
Yeah, yeah, I didn't know. And also, I think Tommy, the other part of this is you said out of sight, out of mind. I don't care if it's Vince when he was in charge or Triple H now or whoever. If you have a hot new kid come along who is really, really good and is getting a great crowd reaction, then when you're a Seth, even if you're a Seth Rollins, you got to come back and take that TV time back. There's only so much time in a show. And when you lose your 10 to 15, 20 minutes of show and somebody comes in and takes it, like Solo's taking it. Like Solo came in Friday night and said, "This is my house." And that's what you got to be. Your ego, your ego has to come with you because there's only so much you're going to be able to do. You got to be selfish a little bit, right? And he knows that. He knows that. Who do you think, and I'm putting you on the spot here, who do you think could be that guy that in the absence of Seth Rollins could grab the ball and run with it?
I think Jey Uso could be the guy. I think Jey can
Really?
carry it, man. I think the crowd loves him. He knows how to work in the ring. He's part of that heritage, that Samoan heritage. I think he could be a pretty big star. But I'm also a big fan of Damon Priestley too. If he
I
changes
know
his
you
look a
like
little
him.
bit, I think with the Latino market as big as it is, him leaning on that a little bit can make him a really huge star. I I, I like him a lot. The other guy I like, and it would take some time, is Montez Ford. I think if he broke
Mm.
away from Street Profits, I think he could be a pretty big star because he can cut a promo. And boy, the kid's an athlete, man. He could work in the ring. I think he, you know, be a potential of maybe being somewhere around being kind of like The Rock, but in a long way. That's
Yeah.
away. But I think he could have the potential because he has charisma. He has a great look. He can work in the ring. He's not bad at cutting a promo. So I think there's some potential there with him too.
Isn't he married, Tommy, or has he been dating Bianca Blair for a long
He's
time?
married.
Am I right on that? Married.
He's
They're
married.
married.
They had their own show on Hulu.
Oh, that's right. They're on, I love
Yeah,
reality. I can't believe I missed that because I
yeah,
love reality shows. I love
yeah,
reality shows. On
yeah.
our other show, Driving the Line, we have a guy named Chris Bassett as part of our crew, and his wife was a big character on Real Housewives of Potomac.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, yeah, and I'm a huge fan of Real Housewives of Potomac, and she just quit the show after several seasons. So that tells you, and he's a chef, but he's into sports betting. He's trying to make a name for himself separate from his wife because reality TV is so big now. But can you think of, and eventually they probably will, the charisma, the athleticism, the looks, what the kids could be like from Montez and Bianca Blair? I mean, be amazing. And
Yeah,
we're seeing kids grow up right now, right before our very eyes, and become WWE superstars.
that's
It's
right.
amazing what we're going through
Yep,
right now.
yep.
Wow. Wow. It's going to be very interesting the next really 4 to 12 months to see what happens. And I also hope, Tommy, that some of these lesser storylines with Seth out, with Rock out, with Roman out, that maybe you can start to see some other stars be elevated. And Cody is this type of a guy. You got to give them what we call in the business the rub. And when you see a guy like Jinder Mahal, for instance, I know he was just on Chris Van Vliet's show, and he was with The Rock a couple months ago. Then inexplicably he gets laid off, which happens in April every single year. But you can start to see other guys get a chance. But Tommy, they got to be ready to have that chance. They got to be ready to have the great matches at the house shows. They got to impress the agents who are there watching them that then report back to Triple H and whoever else is on that team. How important for those mid-level card guys is this summer going to be, in your opinion?
It's got to be the biggest summer of their career, Coach. As you see what's going on in WWE right now with, like you said, Seth, Roman. We need somebody to take the ball and run with it besides Cody. We need other people to
Mm-hmm.
take some TV time up So if I'm a guy like Austin Theory or Waller or, Dominic Mysterio or somebody like that, we need to be aggressive. Like Shane Helm said last week, he went to Stephanie to come up with an idea. That's what you need to be. If you're a superstar and you're in the middle of the pack, you need to get in writers' faces and say, hey, I have an idea of what I think I can do and blah, blah, blah. That's what you have to do. This could be the most important summer of your career. There's a lot of openings now, right now, Coach. And Triple H is kind of open to a lot of things. So if I'm a guy like Austin Theory or, a bunch of other young guys out there, I'm out there saying, man, this is the time for me to try to grab the ring. You know what I
There,
mean?
there
So
is there's no question, Tommy, that Triple H's office is a lot easier to go knock on and go in and have a conversation than it was when what we called the big man was there, for all of those years. It was terrifying to walk in and try to pitch anything. But my answer to my own question, Tommy, and I know he's already main event level, the guy that I think will be the megastar in the next 12 months that also reportedly has not signed his new deal yet is Drew McIntyre.
I
I
love
think Drew
Drew.
has another level to go to. And here's a guy that if you're a young superstar watching this right now and you're thinking, oh, these guys are talking about this like it's easy to become a main event superstar. We know it's not.
Right.
But look at Drew McIntyre because he went like this throughout his career. He was out of wrestling for a few years. And now, all of these years later, Tommy, he has a chance because I would guess he's over 40 at this point. I don't know how old
Yeah,
he
I
is.
would think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. So now to be a main eventer and let's say he's 42 or 3, then he's got a solid 7 to 10 years before he's going to be too old to be able to run up and down the roads post 50. So I think he understands, and he also embraces social media a lot to cut his
Yes.
promos. So I think he's watching The Rock, and a lot of guys are. How much do you like Drew McIntyre?
I'm a big fan of Drew McIntyre. He's an old school heel as far as I'm concerned. And he talk about social media. He tweeted during his match at
He
WrestleMania. This is
did?
boring to me. Yeah, you didn't see that? He took the phone and then they showed it later on. So he
I
gets
had
it. He gets
forgotten.
every part of the new business that we have, which is called social media, and he's on top of everything. And I agree with you totally, Coach. He's even bigger than Jey Uso as far as I'm concerned. He's there, Coach. He just needs that one shot. And I think they're going to make him work a little harder, like they made Cody work. And it's paying off the way Cody paid off at WrestleMania. And I think it's going to pay off for Drew, too. So I'm a big fan of Drew McIntyre's.
If I saw one social media post saying whatever Cody Rhodes is making, he's worth every single dime. And I would echo those same sentiments. Whatever Drew McIntyre is asking for in his contract negotiations, and clearly there is a difference of opinion, or the deal would have been done by now if the dates are as reported. But I've heard Cody's making between 5 and 7 million, which would be that sweet spot. Years ago, you'd never see more than one or two guys at that number. Now, when you're a $10 billion company, you know, you're like the NFL. You got to have
Right.
several guys making that number. So I would say Drew could easily dictate 3 to 5 million, don't you?
Easy. Yep.
Yeah,
Easy. I
three to
think he
five million.
should, too. Yep.
Yeah. Pay that man his money. Pay that man his money.
Yep.
All right. Now, we want you to let us know before we get to story time, what guests do you want here on Behind the Turnbuckle? Put them in the comments here or go to our social media page. Give us a follow and drop it in there. Say, hey, Coach, we'd love to see Mojo Rawley on the show. We'd love to see this guy on the show. And we will start reaching out and really ramping it up. But we wanted to start with 2 or 3 months, just getting us comfortable together. And now we're ready to really skyrocket. All
Yep.
right, Tommy, ready for story time?
I'm
For
ready.
story time? All right. It
Yep.
is now story time on Behind the Turnbuckle. And originally I was going to go with a Triple H story, but Tommy, you got my juices flowing. And everybody loves a good behind the scenes story. So I want to take you back, Tommy. You've been out to LA many, many times, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember when we used to stay at the Marriott Hotel and the Champs Sports Bar inside said Marriott Hotel?
Yes, sir.
So we had many a night, and it all depended whether wanted to fly home on a red eye, the show was always over at 8 o'clock. So you had plenty of time to hang out in this sports bar. Well, one of the things I remember, Tommy, about the sports bar was that every time we were in Los Angeles, Screech from Saved by the Bell, God rest his soul, would always show up at that sports bar and sit by himself. And I remember thinking to myself, what a lonely existence to be a part of one of the iconic shows as a kid and be so kind of goofy that he
Right.
could never get any acting jobs after that. You remember when he used to show up every single time
Yep.
we were at that bar and nobody would pay attention to him?
Yep.
I always felt bad for him, but that's not the story. He just happened to be there on this particular night. You mentioned the name Haku. Now, for people who don't know, Haku is one of the most legit, dangerous human beings you'll ever be around in your life. Nice as hell. Don't piss him off.
Don't piss him off.
And so one of our colleagues, Kevin Kelly, was in there, and Kevin Dunn was also in there. And Kevin Dunn was the head of production. He's the guy who hired me. He was your boss for
Yep.
many, many, many years.
Yes.
And he was over at a table eating dinner. Well, these two fans walk in with their children. And the kids are probably 7 to 9 years old, something like that. And it was like 9 o'clock, 9:30. And so Kevin Kelly says to the guys they walk in, what are you doing with your children this late coming to a place to eat? Well, the two gentlemen who had the kids didn't take kindly to said question. So they eat, nothing happens. And they had those really high bar tables, Tommy, with the plastic ketchup,
Oh yeah.
the plastic mustard, right?
Yep.
And so they eat, and as they're walking out, they make a flippant comment to Kevin Kelly, and Haku is sitting there with all of us, our group of people. Well, I don't know who started it. I don't know who pushed or whoever, but all I know is that tables start going down, stuff is flying, and all of a sudden I look over, and one of the two gentlemen is stuck like this. And he's got a hand, 3 fingers, just like this. Just like this. Haku has this guy just like this. And apparently, in the martial arts and all these different things, there are pressure points in your body which make you freeze. At least they
Oh
made
my.
this dude freeze
Oh
because
my
Haku
God.
has him like this and he's just holding him. And Tommy, I kid you not, he walks this guy out the door with nothing more than just this. During this process, as things are flying and our boss sitting over there watching our nonsense, Kevin Kelly picks up a ketchup bottle to get ready to throw it. He realizes as he picks up the ketchup bottle, it's plastic. It's not a ketchup bottle. It's
Right.
actually just the plastic ketchup that you see at all sports bars. So he goes like this, and then like you see him looking at the bottle the whole time. Haku still has this dude who's walking out. All this is happening, and I'm watching. Is this like the worst action
Wow.
movie I've ever watched in my life? So Kevin Kelly never threw the ketchup bottle. He didn't throw anything. He was actually good, but he started it. Haku finished it. He walks the guy out. And in most instances, Tommy, that this happens in a sports bar or whatever, the managers will walk in, security will walk in, and they throw everybody out.
Right.
But not with us, Tommy. We had 40, 50 people in there. They weren't going to send our money out the door. So the
Nope.
manager walks in. He goes, so what happened here? So I'm the one that talks to him. I go, well, this guy talked, one of our guys. We're kind of at fault, whatever. And as I'm talking to him, his security guys are picking up the tables, putting it all back together, getting up the chairs, putting stuff back on. Within 60 seconds to 90 seconds, you couldn't even tell there had been a fight in there. Couldn't even tell. And he goes, is that all? I go, yeah, that's pretty much it. He goes, cool. Enjoy your night. Turns around, walks out with security guards. And in less than 2 minutes, we went from nothing to Haku to Kevin Kelly not throwing a ketchup bottle to us throwing right back. We'll take another Michelob Ultra, please. That will be 2 for this table.
Right.
All of that happened, Tommy, in 2 minutes or less.
Oh my
Crazy.
God. He was a
that crazy?
bad dude. That's a bad dude.
He was a bad dude.
Yeah, man. Nobody messed with him.
Ooh. And when nobody messes with you in a WWE locker room, you know
Right.
you're a bad dude.
That's
You're a
right.
bad dude. Because we had a lot of bad dudes. We had a
Yep.
lot of bad dudes. He
And
might
they
have been
all
the
admitted
baddest
it.
of the
They
bad
all
dudes.
admitted it that Haku was a bad dude. That's
Yes.
tough when the boys admit it. That's tough.
Ooh. There's only been a few times, Tommy, in my career where I've seen one person test another person in the WWE, like for real. Like for real. And it is not something you want to get in the middle of. It is not. And
Nope.
we've seen fighting in every sport, but this is especially, it's got to be really personal, because that's the one thing that we were always taught, is that we're family and you take care of each other and you don't fight with each other, because there's enough
Right.
idiots out there that would challenge us when we walk into a bar.
That's
And
right.
I'll tell the story someday here on the show about what happened in Europe one time when we walked into a bar, because
Yep.
it's fake wrestling. So all these people are like, oh, these guys aren't tough.
Oh, yeah.
And then they learn the hard way.
Yes,
They learn
sir.
the hard way, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Wow, amazing, amazing, amazing.
Great
All right,
stuff.
Tommy, in a perfect world, again, I'm putting you on the spot. Give me 3 guys that worked from 98 to 2012, that, because this is going to be a busy week for me. I'm traveling, I'm doing golf, Zurich Classic, so I'll be in Florida all week. So I'm working on our guest list for the show. Who do you think we should go after for the show?
I would love to get Road Dogg on
I
the
would
show.
love Road Dogg. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
love Road Dogg. Maybe Billy Gunn with him. Who knows?
that
You
would
know,
be phenomenal.
I'd love the Hardy Boys, maybe the Dudleys,
Yeah,
Edge and Christian. You
yeah.
know, a lot
I
of
would
guys
love
out.
to have Road Dogg. He has stories that would make your head spin, I think. I like to have it wouldn't happen, but I would love to have Kevin Nash on, just to get his perspective working with Razor and his relationship with Razor, because I was a big Razor fan. I think you were too. And we all know the demons that Razor had. So I would love to really poke his brain about his relationship with Razor, because they let's face it, they changed the wrestling world when the
They did.
NWO came.
They did. They
So
did.
that would
He.
be one other one, and I wouldn't mind having Bret Hart just to pick his
Oh,
brain. It probably will never happen, but just to pick. Now he's a changed man, but he had a lot of anger for the WWE
yeah.
back in the day. So I would love to talk to him about the Montreal screw job. I was there for it, and
That's right.
the
You were there for it.
dude, I was there.
Wow.
I'm not going to get into the story now, but I'll tell the story from morning till night of what happened that day. So I'm not going to give it away now, but it was a crazy, eerie feeling backstage that whole day, and that's all I'm going to say.
And if you
Crazy.
guys don't know the story of Bret Hart, take the time, look it up online or YouTube. There's an A&E documentary that will take you through his entire last 6 to 12 months. And back then, when there was what they call bidding wars, we don't really have it today, because it's
No,
usually AEW gets the guys that WWE fires. But
right.
now you're starting to see them come the other way. But back in the day, when WCW was really ramping up with the Monday Night Wars in the mid 90s, there were bidding wars.
Yep.
And it was a great time. Any athlete, any superstar in any business, you want a bidding war. That's exactly what you want. And
Yep.
Bret Hart had one of the all timers, and it got ugly at the end. So, hey, we'll try it, Tommy. You never know. You never know where
Yep.
this show's going to go. It's going to be really cool.
Yep.
By the way, speaking of Kevin Nash, I recently saw some comments that he made on another show, and he does not like some of the backstage politics that are going on right now, much like Undertaker in the WWE. He thinks the guys are too
Right.
soft. He thinks they're taking what they're being given instead of going out and taking the brass ring. So he'd be a
Right.
really, really good interview. So I'm going to put him at the top of our list. It's
Yep.
more difficult than people might think to get guests to
Yes.
find them, right? To
Yep.
find them, not to get them on the show, but to find them. Because
Right.
not everybody wants to be in the public eye anymore. You
Right.
know, some people work regular jobs and they're happy with that.
Yep.
All right, Tommy, another good episode, buddy.
Thank you,
Another
sir.
good episode by you. I encourage all of you. We drop this. We try to drop it every single Friday at noon Eastern time. So subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button when you come in, and also please share the show, because we're just here
Yeah.
to have a good time, talk about wrestling, talk about old stories that we were a part of, and just kind of chop it up and give you our expertise on the world of pro wrestling. That's all we're trying
That's
to
right.
do. Tommy, I'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. I'll be here.
All right. He is the man, Big Tommy Z. You can follow him on the Twitter at BTT_. Tommy C. Got that
You
right.
got it.
All
That's
right.
it.
I'm at the Coach Rules, and we're here every single weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in and making our little show a part of your week. In the meantime, for Producer Man, for Tommy, I'm the Coach. We'll see you next week right here on your favorite news story time show. We like to call it Behind the Turnbuckle. Take care.